Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at the Indiana Jones Adventure series. This is the first wave of 5 figures. Normally I just focus on Star Wars The Black Series and other 6-inch Star Wars lines, but considering that this is the same team that works on Star Wars The Black Series, it's even the same creative agency that's been designing the boxes since the beginning of the Black Series, so I thought it would just make sense to review these on my channel. Huge shout out to Return of the Nerd Star Wars for getting these to me very early. If you guys don't follow Gary, he is based in Taiwan and runs a shop where you can buy figures very early from him. He has incredible prices. He also has a wildly entertaining YouTube channel that I definitely recommend and will have linked below. So if you want to get these early yourself, that is a great way to do it. Of course, these do have the plastic-free packaging, so we see just renders on the box of the figure and the accessories. And here it specifies that this is Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark. But with certain other characters, it doesn't actually say the name of the film if they only appear in one. But I assume we're getting a ton of different Indiana Jones looks, so that just specifies like which version of Indiana Jones that this is. I like to open my boxes from the bottom so we maintain the look of the box on the top. It's cool to see some printing on the cardboard that's inside the package. The Star Wars ones that I've seen so far are just completely blank inside. Let's take a look at the figure now. The hat is not removable, and we will talk about that in a second. Let's take a look at the accessories that he comes with here. These are not sealed bags like we've seen with some Star Wars figures where you have to rip them open. These have an opening to them. Wow, a lot of accessories coming with this figure here. This definitely is the flagship figure of the line, so I'm sure this got a little extra budget compared to some of the other ones. But obviously a huge difference here with the Black Series compared to the lack of accessories and alternate hands that we see with the Star Wars figures. And then with these 5 figures, you can build the Ark of the Covenant, so each figure comes with a couple pieces there. It's sort of like the Build-A-Figure with the Marvel, but it's not like anything we've seen in the Black Series. The alternate hands here are nice, and they use a ball peg, which we will talk about in a second. Here's his little pistol. And then this really nice casual open hand that I wish we got more of in the Black Series. Everything we have with Star Wars is like a gun blasting or lightsaber holding hand, so they all have that really tight C grip. And then we have a couple of fists. The hat is not removable, so if you wanted to do a custom sculpt on here or something like that, you're gonna have to include the hat as part of that. The satchel that he comes with is removable and it fits nicely under his jacket. I'm glad that these figures are coming out now and not a few years ago, because we have that really nice pinless technology on the legs and the arms, not a single pin in sight. And you can tell that this is the new sculpting that we're seeing in the newer Black Series figures coming out since I think around like the Ahsoka wave. One new thing that we are seeing that we don't see on the Star Wars figures is that the hands are on these ball joints. We did see this with the Nayland Cheel and Figure and Dan figures, but we haven't seen this in the Black Series with any human figures, I don't think. And it's a really satisfying click to put these on. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. It's my favorite removable hand situation that I've seen, including on Figuarts. This just works really well and it doesn't feel like it's gonna break. The little strap with the peg here that's supposed to hold his whip in place doesn't really work the way it's supposed to. I messed with it for a few seconds. It was really difficult to get in. Also, sorry if my hands are a little bit dirty. I was working with a die and it's stuck under my nails and on my fingers. We've seen this peg and hole system before on some Black Series holsters, and it looks like it would work really well in a digital render, but not really practical in real life. I think you could get it under there maybe with some heat, pulling the belt off a little bit, but we also see the same thing on his holster here. The small golden idol that he comes with kind of fits in the hands, but it doesn't actually click into there, so if you want to have him holding that, you might need to use a little bit of sticky tack. And I was having trouble with the holster. We have the little peg and strap there, but even still the holster was kind of squashed flat, and I tried for a while to get the gun in there, and it was really difficult. The gun is made from this really soft plastic, so I didn't really have a good way to get a lot of pressure on there to push it into the holster. So again, some heat might be involved in making that fit. And then the hand that holds the whip was a really nice fit. I like the way that the whip has some sculpted movement in there, so it has some action to it instead of just being, flat or looking floppy. It did kind of curl around a little strangely in a way that was a little bit difficult to make sit right. It looks like it should kind of be in between this and flat. But overall, really happy with this figure. I think it looks nice. It's a little shiny, could use a matte spray, but here he is with the Black Series Han Solo. They're about the same exact height.
Hey, you said you were gonna let me borrow that hat. Yeah, I can't take it off.
So I'm going to put these on the hexagon stands as we go here, just so we can see all of them. These are the hexagon stands for my Patreon. Sorry to over promote these so much, but I get questions about them every single time if I don't mention them. So these will be linked below. I really love the box art on these figures. That Marion likeness is amazing. Let's take a look inside the box. Of course, we will be building the Ark of the Covenant at the end of the video, so stay tuned to see how that gets put together. Some really cool world building accessories here, but she doesn't come with very much. No alternate hands or anything anything like that. She does come with this articulated monkey, which is pretty cool. What's cool about these figures is that because they scale so well with Black Series, these will be great parts to use for custom figures. For instance, I look at these pants and I immediately think of Corellia Kira. This is by Tim's Toys, but as a customizer, this whole wave of figures, the gears are turning in my head. Looking at the shirt here, we see that this printing, it looks like the same tech that they use for the face printing, and of course they can't really get into a lot of areas of the figure, such as the inside of the arms. I don't know if she's necessarily even supposed to have any pattern there, but a lot of times when we see this, like with the TVC Lando figure, you don't see that pattern extending beyond the part that you can see just when looking at the figure from the front. The frying pan fits really nicely into her hand, and the hair doesn't really affect the tilt of her head at all. Overall, the face printing on these is just a little bit disappointing. It's definitely not like the best that we've seen from Hasbro, but it's definitely not the worst either. She's got these huge ankles and the feet are a little bit weird in there. I don't know if it's because of the type of shoes that she's wearing. And then interestingly enough, we don't have the ball peg on this hand here. So these are just the classic pegs like we see in the Black Series. And of course she comes with the monkey accessory. This has an articulated head as well as articulated arms. Not a ton of movement there, but it's enough to get a couple interesting poses. She stands pretty good on her own, but I keep all of my figures on these stands just so we don't have any figure avalanches. And I'm gonna see if I can get that monkey to sit on her arm like we see on the packaging. Although I think it's gonna be a little bit ambitious to expect it to sit here. Yep, that's not staying. The frying pan is a little bit loose in the left hand, but I'm gonna just set the monkey here for now. We can worry about that a little bit later. Also, I forgot to show you the tissue paper that the figures come in. Let's jack up the contrast here so we can see that it has this really cool little map of South America. If you guys are still with me, I would really appreciate if you subscribed, and if not, just click that like button. That also helps me out just as much. I'm really surprised how little they kind of promote the build an artifact on here. Like, I feel like it'd be easy to kind of miss the fact that you can get the Ark of the Covenant with these figures if you were just to see them on a shelf at like Target or something, but maybe a lot of people are just buying these online these days, which is why they don't really need plastic on the windows. After opening the Indiana Jones figure, I thought that the rest of these figures were going to come with way more accessories, but I think they come with what they need to. The outfit here reminds me a lot of the Tusken Raider, but underneath we have some boots. Those look really cool. I like that sculpt there. And then the articulation of the arms is not hindered at all by the sculpt. And then even with the legs, you can get him into some action poses here. There's enough flexibility in the robes, but I don't know how action heavy you're going to be making this guy. On the box, he's holding the rope, and it is a little bit thinner at this one point here where it looks like the hand can kind of fit, but I was having trouble getting that to stay. If you get it at the right angle, it will stay in there and you can have him holding this, but I think it's just gonna like end up falling out a lot. So what I did is I took a little bit of black tack, which you can get on Amazon. I will have that linked below. It's one of my favorite accessories for figures. It sticks to itself much better than it sticks to the figures, so it doesn't really leave a residue. I still wouldn't really use it on any characters' faces or anywhere that you would really hate to have any black left over, but if it does, you can just kind of ball up a little bit more of the black tack and use it to pull off the remaining bits that are stuck on the figure. But if you're like me and you like having your figures just kind of on display on the shelf and don't want to worry about things dropping or falling, black tack is great. I even use a little bit of it under the heel of the figure when it's on the stand, just for a little bit of extra security there. The Ark of the Covenant parts are really beautifully sculpted here, but we will focus on that at the end of the video. Here is his staff. The face printing across this line is very consistent, which I prefer than having it be all over the place, but it isn't exactly the highest quality that I've seen. It's a little bit soft. But I think that when these figures are viewed from a distance, like you would see them on a shelf, they are not bad at all. This is a nice Jedi Force hand here. I wish we got those kinds of hands in the Black Series. But even with the ball jointed hinge here, you don't really get much movement at all. This is about as far as it moves. The layered robes here are kind of interesting because we just have a small piece of a robe glued to the inside of that, so it's not like several layers that are all stacked up, which I guess makes sense. You don't want the figure clothes to get a little bit too bulky, since at this scale it is really difficult to get layered clothes, but these two on the top are one piece and then the bottom one is glued on. There isn't a lot to this figure, so we're just going to put him on the stand here and set him aside. The last figure in the wave here I think is the best one other than Indy. I definitely think that his head is a little bit too small, but he comes with this cool trench coat that drapes over the shoulders nicely, and there are several display options for this figure, so if you want to have a really intense Indiana Jones shelf, you might need to get two of him to display the two different options that we will take a look at in a second. second. The glasses are actually glued on at the ears, and glasses at 1/12 scale are always difficult. These don't look amazing, but they don't look terrible at all. He comes with the open hand alternate accessory with the burn marks on the palm, and I had a lot more trouble getting the hand onto the ball joint here. It didn't feel like an alternate hand. It felt like when you switch the hands of a Black Series figure that aren't supposed to be switched, you kind of have to use a little bit of heat and pressure to get that on. So I'm sure that the tolerances are really tricky to get exactly right across the figures. This one definitely took a little bit more effort to get on and popped off a lot easier than I would have liked. He also comes with his pistol, and then he comes with his hat, which has a really nice snug fit. You can even lift the figure up from the brim and he's not going to fall out. I don't know why you would need to do that though. For a figure that comes with an alternate head, this was surprisingly difficult to get on. I've had even less trouble getting Black Series heads on and off that aren't supposed to come off, so I was kind of surprised that this was so tricky. I'm sure the Black Series team had so much fun doing something super gory for once, since Star Wars plays it so safe with that kind of stuff. I don't think we will ever see blood in the Black Series. Actually, we got it on the Wampa, but they removed that for the re-release. But overall, I think this is a really nice looking figure, and he has a lot of really cool alternate display potential. You could definitely get 2 of these on the shelf and it would make sense. But I think this is a really amazing first wave for a new license. I really think that Hasbro does a great job with figures in this price range, and I would love to see this style of 6-inch figure extended to other IPs. Imagine a Back to the Future line from Hasbro or Blade Runner or something. I know that a lot of other toy companies have those licenses, but I really prefer the Hasbro 6-inch aesthetic over NECA or McFarlane or some of those other toy lines, even though I know that they do come with better paint apps and better accessories. I would love to see like a Last of Us line from Hasbro based on the TV show, or even some older thing, like imagine a Seinfeld line from Hasbro that's like just 1 or 2 waves of like the main characters or a couple iconic props or costumes or something like that. But as a Star Wars Black Series collector and someone who isn't into Marvel very much, I'm really excited to have a new IP in the Black Series style figures from Hasbro. This isn't the normal type of content that I do on this channel because it isn't Star Wars related, so a like will go a long way in helping this video do well. I don't know if I'm going to continue to review these Indiana Jones figures as they release, so leave a comment below if you would like to see that. Thank you again to Gary from Return of the Nerd for getting these to me early. Here's some other Star Wars related videos from my channel that you might enjoy, and I'll see you all next time.